So guys, we're just here at the Marine Dynamics Academy. This afternoon we are going to be doing a dissection of one of our shark species we can find locally in our bay, which is the Broadnose sevengill. It was reported with a stranding yesterday. The team went up this morning to pick it up. We're going to go through, do our external measurements, have a look, but at a first glance it does look like it was orca predation.
So the reason why we do these necropsies is first of all so that we can determine the cause of death. So what we do is we're going to cut it open. Often we can find something like a fishing hook that'll tell us that it was a fishing related mortality. We also look at things like stomach contents. So we had a really cool necropsy the other day with a ragged tooth shark. Then when we cut open the stomach, we found a whole, I think it was either a cat shark or a shy shark. I think a cat shark. That we found perfectly preserved within the stomach. So that was really, really interesting. We also take samples of things like the liver, which can be sent off for toxicology. And then we do a whole lot of measurements so that we can see allometric relationships between the different body parts. So back to cause of death, in this case it was actually quite obvious what the cause of death was, so there was not really a need for a necropsy in that sense. So here the entire liver was removed, and we also see rake marks along the skin, so that makes it very clear to us that this is a case of orca predation. So not much of a mystery there, but still going to be really interesting to see if we see anything in the stomach, and then also of course the measurements.
7 gill slits, rather than the particular 5 that you'll normally find for other shark species. But of course with your gills, it's going to be multiple, and there's going to be loads of little filaments within this. So just like our lungs, we have an increased surface area. It's going to be the same for your marine species as well, that specifically are not mammals and utilizing the actual blood flow from a breath like we would more similarly. But yeah, so it'll just be situated all along the back. And of course for the 7 gills, they do have a few extra as well, which is their claim to fame.
So from the measurements that we've taken, we can see that this is quite a full-grown adult female. She's quite long. We take measurements like the full body length, but then also different measurements between different body parts, which we use for allometric relationships, which is very important for us to understand how different body parts grow in relation to the age class or the size class. So for the samples that we take, we're starting with a fin clipping, which we can use for genetic analysis. We'll also take some muscle samples, and it's really interesting when you look at the muscle of a shark, it looks very similar to any kind of fish, like a hake, for example, and that is why it's not surprising that in countries like Australia, when people are eating what is called flake and chips, they often have no idea that they are eating shark meat and not any fish that we would usually eat. Other samples that we take sometimes would be organs, but in this case, because it was an orca predation, we don't have that available to us, so we won't be able to do any sort of toxicology analysis. And then we've also collected a couple of teeth.